Scouting has probably helped me as much as it's helped the boys. Through doing these activities, I think it keeps you're limber, it keeps you in condition, it makes your mind younger dealing with the Scouts, it keeps you in tune with what the teenagers are doing today. We didn't have Xboxes, cell phones, and all these things. But the kids were good back then, and they're good today.
Imagine doing the same job for 50 years. Now imagine doing that job without pay. Most people would not sign up for that. But Angus McFarlane is not most people. In February 2017, Angus joined very exclusive company, celebrating his 50th year as a troop leader for the Boy Scouts of America. But even 50 years as a Scoutmaster doesn't entirely encompass his time in and love for scouting. That started much earlier.
All my friends were in scouting. I couldn't wait to be a scout. I had to be 11 years old to join the Boy Scouts, and I joined it in 1951 in Burlingame, Kansas, Troop 111. The Boy Scouts was only 41 years old when I started, and now it's over 100 years old.
As a Boy Scout, Angus quickly set about earning merit badges. On his high adventure trip to the Philmont Boy Scout Ranch in New Mexico, he carried a rigid backpack that he made himself in shop class. Angus achieved Eagle Scout status in 1956. But his best move came when he met and later married his wife Suzanne, who shared his love of the outdoors and encouraged his continued interest in scouting.
I moved to Ada, and I wore a red jacket to work one day, and Kenneth Ball recognized it as a scout jacket. And he said, "We're trying to find a scout leader for the First Christian Church. Would you be interested?" And of course, I was elated to find a place where I could be a scoutmaster.
Starting a new career, a new life with Suzanne, and taking over an established Boy Scout troop in Ada, Oklahoma might seem like a lot all at once. But scouting had prepared Angus for any eventuality, and he was more than up to the task. Ada's first two Boy Scout troops were formed in 1917 and merged 5 years later. Scouting participation ebbed and surged over those first 50 years in Ada, and when Angus arrived, it was at a low point. Challenge accepted.
So in 1967, we had around 4 boys, and somewhere around 1973, there were 80 boys meeting in the Scout Hall. Every Monday night, this place was crowded. On your sleeping bags, you can have a rectangular sleeping bag.
The natural and easy enthusiasm Angus displayed when talking to young men about scouting was, and still is, contagious. In a changing world where technology continues to invade lives earlier and earlier, Angus has relied on a genuine passion for the natural world to lead the way for several new generations of Scouts. Notching 50 years as a Scoutmaster is a rare achievement. Because the Boy Scouts of America is centered on citizenship, Angus is quick to share credit with many others he's worked alongside with on his incredible journey.
Suzanne was always very helpful in scouting and very supportive. She became a member at large of the troop committee and just sort of have stayed involved. And one thing I have never had a problem with was assistant leadership. I've always had leaders to assist me in running the scout troop. Majority of scout leaders are in scouting while their sons are in scouting, and then they leave it to somebody else to carry the banner for them. But I really think the continuity of one person over a scout troop makes it possible to continue the scouting program.
When you serve as Scoutmaster for half a century, you can't help but experience some unforgettable adventures.
We hiked from Allen to the Blue River hunting and fishing area, which is 50 miles. We camped on the way, and we had to get permission to cross lands, and the day we got to the Blue River hunting and fishing area, the river was up, so I can remember we had to string a rope across it to get across the river. Going to Camp Simpson, I've spent a lot of nights outdoors. It's kept me sort of in condition. It keeps you young because you're with scouts. We tell our dads if they go camping with us, you camp just like the boys. We feel like if it's not good enough for the scout leaders, it's not good enough for the boys.
A rite of passage for all scouts is experiencing a high adventure. In his 50 years as Scoutmaster, Angus has led many young Ada men on these adventures.
Going backpacking in the Waimanuche Wilderness around Pagosa Spring, going to Philmont Scout Ranch, and then we started going to Northern Tiers, which was sea bases up in the boundary waters of Minnesota and Canada. The first year we went to Bazette. The trail we picked, there were 2 one-mile portages. You had to carry your canoe and all your gear to get in. The boys play tricks on each other. The same pranks are played by different generations. They may have been 50 years ago, 40 years ago, or 10 years ago, but they're the same thing.
Any young man who joins Troop 4 in Ada should be prepared to go the distance. In his 50 years as Scoutmaster, Angus has shepherded an astonishing number of scouts all the way through to that highest and most distinguished level of accomplishment.
Right now I have 191 Eagle Scouts since becoming Scoutmaster, and hopefully in 2017 I will hit the 200 mark of Eagle Scouts.
Maybe most impressively, Angus has served all 50 years as Scoutmaster with one troop in one location. In today's mobile, shrinking world, that kind of stability is a throwback to days gone by, and certainly a testimony to his devotion to Troop 4 and all the young men who belong to it, past, present, and future. His steady guiding hand is a major reason Ada has one of the oldest and most successful troops around.
In 2017 it'll be 95 years. Which is one of the oldest scout troops in the country. And if you take 5 more years from 1917 to 22, that would really make this troop being 100 years old that it's been chartered by the Boy Scouts of America.
Through it all, Angus is fueled by a core belief in what scouting represents. The world has changed so much in the last 50 years, but Angus and Troop 4 of the Boy Scouts of America in Ada, Oklahoma have not changed much at all. They have held fast to this nation's best and strongest values, the values that define scouting and the best in all of us.
Character, citizenship, and physical development. And that really hasn't changed through the 100 years of scouting. The Scout Oath is as relevant today as it was yesterday. Boys have changed since I started in 1967. The kids are still good. I think it still has a place for youth today.